Hey friends of the earth, this is Waylon, and I'm going to do a quick video. I'm just going to set up the same exact video on our @Elephant Journal. Here we go, on Instagram. Okay, so today I wanted to talk about positivity. Positivity is something I've talked about a lot. From the point of view of the English language, positivity sounds good, right? Does positivity sound good or bad? Anyone want to vote? It sounds positive. It sounds like a nice thing. But let's define what positivity is. Without even being mean about positivity, positivity is always looking at the bright side of life. Positivity is always being positive about everything, right? That sounds pretty good too. Am I right? So what could Waylon's problem with positivity be, possibly? How do you be negative about positivity? You got to be trying hard, right? Kind of. So here's the deal with positivity and why, from a Buddhist point of view, it's kind of awful stuff. So there's this wonderful book by Chogyam Trungpa called Cutting Through Spiritual Materialism. And basically, it talks about a lot of things, but it talks about our approach to spirituality, our approach to life, our approach to quotes on Instagram is sort of like he talks about is a spiritual salad bar. We go to the salad bar, we take a little bit of Jesus, a little bit of Hinduism, a little bit of this, a little bit of Buddhism, like a salad bar, and you put it all on your plate. You take all the parts you like, but you leave out all the parts you're not sure about or make you uncomfortable or that you don't like. That sounds sort of rational, right? That's what you do at a salad bar. But what you're missing out on is challenge, things that are challenging, things that are hard. And as we know from relationships, are relationships all positive? Of course not. Is it important when you have difficult times to be fundamentally positive and try to get through it? Of course. But that's not what positivity is. Positivity isn't being fundamentally positive coming from basic goodness. That is, in the Buddhist tradition, we do believe in basic goodness, that you and me and all people are fundamentally A-okay. And that's fantastic. And I think it is important to be positive fundamentally about life. So when you have challenges, when you have tough stuff going on, be positive about it, basically. But here's where positivity is downright negative, where it's actually bad for you and bad for our planet. Positivity is awful and actually kind of evil. It's sort of a weird manifestation of privilege and willful ignorance, not just casual ignorance, willful ignorance. And I'll give you an example. So the example would be, sorry, my phone keeps sliding. The example of how positivity can be bad for us is when we're not willing to look at reality. Reality fundamentally should be what is most interesting to us. So if you're being a positivity person, I call positivity gated community spirituality. So you don't necessarily want to look at other people's suffering. As a civilization, as a culture, we push away the homeless. We push away people who are sick and make us insecure about our own health, like the Ebola virus or HIV or whatever. We push away people in hospitals. We push away anything dangerous. We want to cling to safety and kind of privilege and having nice things. So we cling to nice things and we push away anything scary. And that fundamentally is ego. That is ego from a Buddhist point of view. So from a Buddhist point of view, positivity very quickly can work from being fundamentally positive, which is good, to being a manifestation of ego. And Trungpa Rinpoche talks about this in Cutting Through Spiritual Materialism, that the ego will take and use and misuse and twist anything, including spirituality. So it's very important that we never leave empathy behind. Empathy, if empathy is harnessed to, sorry, my damn phone is sliding. I need to get a little stand, don't I? If empathy is harnessed to our positivity, then we're okay. But if positivity isn't harnessed or joined, yoked, to use a word sort of like yoga, to this just really isn't working. All right, there we go. So if empathy and positivity are separate, that's not going to work. That's going to wind up being a sort of selfish spiritual materialism. So like there's there's a lot of good vibes only, and I'm a spiritual gangster. There's a lot of this sort of spiritual fun stuff out there. And a lot of it is fun and hip, and I love it. And I'm not trying to bash on everything. But if the t-shirt isn't organic, if the pillow is full of plastic that off-gases, it destroys our world and eventually ends up in our ocean and in our fish and in our bellies. All of you have plastic in your bellies right now, just like whales. We're not being fundamentally positive. So the other day I was at a beautiful, wonderful, inspiring benefit. I was at 2 of them for the homeless, and it was wonderful, and I was honored to be a part of it, a very small part of it. But in the basement, we all had plastic single-use cups. So, where is our follow-through? That's why this video series is called Walk the Talk. We need to walk our talk in all the details. If your positivity is manifesting in the details of your life, in the everyday actions, we are good. You're good to go. But if your positivity ends right here, then it's just gated community, selfishness under the guise of spirituality. Same for me. No, I don't mean to say you, all of us. So the final thing I'll say is I had a discussion with some friends this morning about this very subject in terms of coffee. So I wanted to touch on that because it's a good example. So I was ragging on some dear friends of mine who make beautiful coffee that hipsters love. It's got cool logos and cool labels and everything's cool. And hipsters love to go spend a lot of money on that coffee. And so that came up with some friends. They were saying, well, that's the best coffee, right? And I was like, maybe I don't really know. It doesn't have a certification that it's organic. So that means it was sprayed by poison, probably. It means it could have been. It doesn't have a fair trade certification, so I don't know if the farmers who worked their butts off, were paid properly. I don't know anything about it. It's just all I know is the label. And as a culture, that's all we're trained to know is we share blogs on Facebook just based on the title. We don't even read them. So, don't judge a book by its cover. We need to be willing to read labels to know if our planet, if the farmers are getting treated right. And that's the coffee I want to support. Obviously, it needs to taste good. It needs to be good as well. It's got to be the whole thing. But I'm a Kicking Horse coffee fan because they're organic. They come in a tin that I can then use for rice or for, whatever, oats for storage. Or I can recycle the tin. The tin is 100% recyclable. It's actually recyclable, unlike plastic, which is not really a good thing to recycle and doesn't usually get recycled. And the coffee is organic and it's fair trade and it's yummy, yummy, yummy. So I recommend Kicking Horse, but more importantly, and they're not a sponsor, more importantly, I recommend just walking our talk in the details. Enlightenment isn't talking about enlightenment. Enlightenment is trying to be mindful in our everyday actions and also knowing that not making perfect the enemy of the good. I'm an idiot. Maybe you're an idiot. I'm not an enlightened guru, and I never will pretend to be, because no one would believe me. So, let's have a healthy sense of humor about ourselves. Let's not try to be Portlandia without the humor, but let's try to do the right thing. And, even Trump fans agree with that. Let's do Made in the USA, right? What is the reason we care about Made in the USA? Because we care about local jobs. So wherever the jobs are, let's make sure the people are getting treated right. The middle class is getting treated right. The planet is getting treated right. Not just because we're tree huggers, because we got to drink that water. We got to breathe that air. We're all in this together, whether we like it or not. And that's kind of what our hat says, which is we're all in this together. Let's disagree agreeably. And you can get that hat on elephantjournal.com/shop. So, but again, so nothing is necessarily wrong with materialism, like things. We all have to wear things and eat things. What's wrong is if we don't think about the cost or where they're coming from or where they're going to go. So we got to think about where they come from, how they exist with us, and where they're going to go. So instead of buying lots of crap on Black Friday, buy a couple things you care about and hopefully can keep for life. There's a wonderful section on Reddit called Buy It for Life. So I've now been all over the place, but it all ties together. And that's why Elephant talks about the mindful life. We don't talk about the eco life. We don't talk about the spiritual life. We don't talk about the activism life. We don't talk about the adventure life. We don't talk about the recipes and cooking and family life. We talk about all of it together because that's life, the mindful life. Big love, and you can subscribe when I hang up if you like, if so inspired.